Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our Women's Advanced Bible Study Night, 24th of August 2023. Topic within the room is Abraham's wife. We're dealing with Keturah, Abraham's wife, second wife, that he acquired after Sarah passed away. Okay, so you can go to our YouTube channel and Prophets of Awakening and check out our videos. If you're interested, there's a lot of information given, and the videos will connect dots for you, lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving on the channel, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, right? And for those that feel the need to support the channel, you can check out our Cash App on the bottom of the screen, okay? This is a non-Messianic channel, and by that I mean we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah only. Tanakh is the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses, the books of the law. Shalom and welcome to this channel. And like I said before, welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study Night. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms. We got some women help information. We're going to do some current events, a little need to know information, and we'll open up for some questions and comments, Q&A. Then we'll go into the discussion, which is about Keturah, Abraham's wife. Okay, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as our servants David and Solomon and Samuel and Hezekiah did. O Lord, allow thy face shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much in these final hours. Peace be unto you. Okay. And with that being said, I'm going to read the Psalms. Okay.
Shalom. Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. I'll be reading Psalms 12, verses 1 through 7. Psalms 12, verses 1 through 7.
Okay.
Help, Lord, for the godly man cease, for the faithful fail from among the children of men. They speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor, with flattering lips, and with a double heart do they speak. The Lord shall cut off all flattering lips, and the tongue that speaketh proud things. Who have said, with our tongue will we prevail, our lips are our own, who is Lord over us? For the oppression of the poor, for the sigh of the needy, now will I arise, saith the Lord. I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him. The words of the Lord are pure words, as silver trieth in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. The wicked walketh on every side, when the vilest men are exalted. I read this chapter, and it just brought me to like today. We can go back with David, but this just took me to today, and how in verse 4, when it says, "Who is Lord over us?" This is the capital. I mean, this is the lowercase Lord, which is not the Lord of hosts. This is not who is talking here when we go into verse 5, when it says, "For the oppression of the poor, for the sign of the needy, now will I rise, saith the Lord." This is what the Lord of hosts is saying. So he's saying, after that, coming down in verse 7, "Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever." So again, this just brought me to today, because these uh, Gentiles, these people who are against the Lord of hosts, against Yahweh, they try everything to get their way, whereas who is the Lord over us? So the Lord of hosts is saying to me that, who is your Lord? These people who do these things, I destroy this. I will make this right, and um you have to be with the Lord of hosts. You have to be with Yahweh, because when this end happens, those are the only chosen few. The Israelite, the Hebrews, they are the only chosen few. And if you're not on board, you're not gonna prevail. You're not gonna make it. And he is saying that he'll preserve us from this generation of these wicked, this lowercase L here
Okay.
in this one in 4. Thank you, Shalom.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good observation. And I just want to shine light on verse 5, because of Isaiah 53. They always put an emphasis on that him, saying that it's singular, it's one person. But if you look at verse 5, it says, "For the oppression of the poor, for the sign of the needy, now will I arise, said the Lord, and I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him." So it's Israel. You see that that's more than one. He says, "For the oppression of the poor and for the sign of the needy." It's more than one person. "Now will I arise, saith the Lord, and I will set him," Israel. Same him that's in Isaiah 53. Okay. Just want to shine a light on that.
Yes, thank you, sir, for shining a light on that, because I see that now.
Right,
I've read it for 1, and when you said 2, immediately I saw that, because he's setting him apart from him, and
right.
him,
From
which
the
is the
wicked,
evil him,
the
right?
wicked.
Wicked from, right? Yes, sir. The wicked from the good. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on that? Okay. We're gonna go into our women's health moment.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Please note that the information that is shared is intended for general, informational, and educational purposes only and is not medical advice or recommended treatment. Tonight's discussion is on what is hyssop. Did you know there are a wide variety of plants known by the name hyssop, from hedge hyssop to capers hyssop? However, true hyssop is an edible member of the mint family that's been used for centuries. Compared to other plants known as hyssop, true hyssop is safe to eat and is found in a variety of spice mixes and foods. Hyssop plants look like a smaller form of lavender with spikes of blue flowers. Hyssop is used for digestive and intestinal problems, including liver and gallbladder conditions, intestinal pain, intestinal gas, colic, and loss of appetite. It is also used for respiratory problems, including coughs, the common cold, respiratory infections, sore throat, and asthma. Other uses include urinary tract infections, poor circulation, and menstrual cramps. Some people use hyssop as a gargle, in baths to cause sweating, and on the skin for treating skin irritations such as burns, bruises, and frostbite. In foods, hyssop oil and extracts are used as a flavoring. In manufacturing, hyssop oil used as a fragrance in soaps and cosmetics. Remember that essential oils should never be applied directly to your skin. You will first need to dilute hyssop oil with a carrier oil, such as those made from olive or coconut. The Old Testament mentions hyssop several times, but I'm going to read Exodus chapter 12, verses 21 through 28, blood and lintel on the doorpost. Verse 21. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, Draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until morning. Verse 23. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. Verse 25. um, I'm sorry, and it shall come to pass when ye be come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he hath promised, that ye shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, What mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshiped. And the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. So did they. Okay, that's it. And tonight's discussion was on hyssop, and I read Exodus chapter 12, verses 21 through 28, blood and lintel on the doorpost. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, Sister Michelle. Thank you. It's
Okay.
very interesting to know that a lot of the things that hyssop could help you with, and some of these ones that you mentioned, like the urinary tract, poor blood circulation, the menstrual, and those things that require sometimes for the urinary, most time for the urinary, um, antibiotics. And we know now, what has been coming in the pharmaceutical aspect with addiction to certain drugs. And if you're going to have this thing all the time, and taking all these pills, you got to try and look at your whole health care. And this was very enlightening about the hyssop, because that's something that you can use, for more than one thing. You use it in the kitchen, and then you can use it for other things. So that was great. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. So when you was reading that, I remember that it's all that hyssop is also used for a spice. It's part of the spices during the sacrifices. I remember reading that, and then I saw some brothers uh, back in like 2015 or whatever. They was over in the place over in where they supposedly dug up Zion. Uh, uh, they had did a sacrifice a lamb, but then the day before that they was baptized. They was told, they was in the New Testament, but the water where they was baptized, and then it was kind of like a pool, outdoor pool, a pond like, and they was uh spread hyssop all over the water, and then I never forgot that. I said I'm gonna wait and let that unfold, but I was like, what they doing? But anyway, I know in Exodus and in Leviticus doing the sacrifices, hyssop is also used as a spice for a sweet savor to be burnt with the lamb or with the sacrifice or whatever it is. Yeah. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are right. When I was researching that, and that's why I was referencing true hyssop, because
Right,
that is the one that is used as, flavoring and spices.
mm,
And for all the other hyssops that they have is not good for you. So when I was researching that, it was even talking about hyssop tea
right,
that is good for, your body cramps and menstrual cramps in women. So that was interesting to me, of the difference in that. So again, I think when it says true hyssop, that is the true hyssop, but we know that they fumble and play around with nature
right.
so much that
Yeah,
they, right, yes sir, so you have to be careful. And that is one thing that I read too. They were saying that you have to be careful with the other hyssops that you come in contact with, because it's not good, for eating and for the different things like the common cold and the respiratory infections and things like that. So if you use hyssop, make sure you use the true hyssop.
right, exactly. Right. Yeah, and like I said, I remember also he was out in the temple when the Levites would, because they get all bloody because of it, sacrificing those animals, cutting them up. And he said they would have to go change their garment. And he would say, go and wash yourself, change your garment and wash yourself with hyssop. So yeah,
Yes
okay,
sir, Psalm 51.
right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, anyway, we're gonna move on to some current events. We still dealing. We got. I think today was the last day for the BRICS conference. So I got some information on that.
Nations, 6 new nations are now members of the bloc, including the BRICS bloc, as existing members approve the expansion. Now, the three-day BRICS summit taking place in Johannesburg, South Africa, concludes today as the world watches geopolitical realignments. 6 new nations joining the bloc are Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Ethiopia, and Egypt. Argentina, while Iran and Saudi Arabia have shown affinity to China lately, with the latter brokering a peace deal between the two West Asian neighbors. UAE has been forging strategic relations with India, and outside of West Asia, two African nations, of course, Ethiopia and Egypt, have made the cut. Argentina, that has been struggling with its economy lately, represents the global south from the continent of South America. The announcement was made by South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, the host of 2023 BRICS Summit.
BRICS countries, we have reached agreement on the guiding principles, standards, criteria, and procedures of the BRICS expansion process, which has been in discussion for quite a while. We have consensus on the first phase of this expansion process, and other phases will follow.
Buy on blue, sell on red.
Okay.
This new indicator gives extremely accurate
To inductees calling for a multipolar world order.
15th anniversary of BRICS, we have taken the important decision to expand it. As I had said yesterday, India has always fully supported the expansion of BRICS membership. India has always believed that the addition of new members will further strengthen BRICS as an organization, and it will give our shared efforts a new impetus.
I would like to congratulate new BRICS members on the full membership. They will assume their membership next year. Let me assure all of the colleagues that we will keep up with the work that we have launched to expand BRICS' influence in the world. This membership expansion is historic. It shows the determination of BRICS countries for unity and cooperation with the broader developing countries. It meets the expectation of the international community and the common interests of emerging market countries and developing countries.
While a bilateral meeting between India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and China's President Xi Jinping remains awaited and looks dicey at the moment, the two leaders were seen exchanging pleasantries on the final day of the summit. Fresh from a successful moon landing of its space mission on Wednesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi remained under the spotlight during the morning session. The West has been keeping a very close eye on the developments in Johannesburg. Many analysts believe that the expansion of BRICS could even pose a challenge to the economic hegemony of the G7 nations, as some of the world's fastest emerging economies continue to assert themselves.
Okay, any comments on that? Well, they added 6 new countries to the BRICS. It goes into effect in January. Okay.
Shalom. So BRICS right now is just a banking system.
No, it's just like G7. Like G7 countries got a group. These people have a group. It's an economical block, economic block. Countries that come together for, they're aligning themselves together to. It actually started America started using the dollar and sanctioning countries and making countries go bankrupt. So that's what brought about this BRICS. So they coming together on one accord to usurp what the West doing with the dollar. That's the whole purpose of it. So it's like a counter to G7.
Okay.
Okay. So we see France at it again right here.
France suspends its financial support of 482 million euros to Burkina Faso in response to its support of the coup in Niger. Let's get into it. My name is Joe Hatagwa, and today we have news from Burkina Faso and France. So from what many might consider a petty move, France has actually decided to suspend its financial aid and development assistance to Burkina Faso. So this, of course, is in response to the African nation's backing of revolutionaries in Niger. So Niger, as you might remember, on July 26th, Niger did have a military coup that ousted former President Bazoum, and they actually announced this on national TV. This had widespread coverage. Everyone was talking about it, and there was a lot of discussion about how other people were planning to intervene. There are belief systems on different sides, so we're going to talk a little bit about the story and give you guys more context and insight into what's going on. So shortly after the coup, ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, met, and they decided they were going to keep military force on the table in response to what happened in Niger if Niger did not reinstate the ousted president. Now, since then, they had given them 7 days, and nothing has happened in those 7 days. So since then, ECOWAS and other international bodies have threatened further military action. So Burkina Faso, who also had a coup in September of 2022, has joined Mali in a statement warning against ECOWAS military intervention in Niger. Mali and Burkina Faso have both stated that if there was an intervention to restore the ousted president, it would be considered a declaration of war against them. So the relevant announcement about the funding being pooled by the folks from France to Burkina Faso was posted on the official website of the French Foreign Ministry. And the statement read, France will be suspending all development assistance and budgetary support operations in Burkina Faso until further notice. Now, this declaration has been received with mixed reactions among Africans, many of whom perceive it as ironic given France's history of economic exploitation of Burkina Faso over the decades. So here's some of the examples of the way that they've been actually exploiting Burkina Faso. So number one, they have an annual provision that they give to Burkina Faso of $100 million in developmental aid, but they're concurrently withdrawing approximately $200 million from Burkina Faso's foreign reserves annually through the utilization of what they call the CF agreement. This agreement is very contentious. A lot of people disagree with the agreement, but in this agreement, they're actually taking out $200 million of foreign reserves out of Burkina Faso while only giving $100 million anyway. So even though they're pulling their funding, they've already been taking more than they've been giving. Now, the suspension of the funding from France and Burkina Faso does have some potential detrimental effects on the country. So here are some of the possible implications. Number one is the reduction of development projects. Burkina Faso may have to cut back on development projects that were being funded by France. So this could impact the country's infrastructure, education, health, and other sectors that rely on foreign aid. Number two is the economic impact. Burkina Faso may face economic challenges due to the suspension of funding. This country may have to find alternative sources of funding or raise funds internally, which could be difficult given the country's economic situation. Three is political implications. The suspension of funding could have political implications for Burkina Faso. It could strain the relationship between the two countries, obviously Burkina Faso and France, in terms of their foreign policy and relations. And the country may have to look for other allies to fill a gap left by France, whether that's in the West or obviously preferably on the continent of Africa. And then the fourth implication and the fourth potential negative implication of this is security concerns. Burkina Faso is facing security crisis due to the presence of armed groups in the country. The suspension of funding from France could impact the country's ability to fight these groups and maintain security. And obviously they've already pushed out French troops previously, so they don't have the support of the French troops physically and then also the financial support of France. Now.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? So we saw yesterday the World Bank started trying to cut fundings on these countries, trying to put them back in line by cutting their funding, but that's not working. They don't need them no more. Okay. So he goes with the need to know information. I thought it was pretty interesting. Check it out.
Diaspora. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about digital currency in a different way. You guys already know Bitcoin, like, what is it, $29,450, give or take, for one Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin is the international digital currency. And a lot of us know that we're big on using Cash App here. Cash App is not an international digital currency. What Cash App is a United States and UK digital currency. Only the United States and the UK can use Cash App. Okay, what it does is it allows these two countries to kind of hold their weight with respect to their dollars. Okay. We know that the pound is worth more than the United States dollar. The pound and the dollar, they hold. Okay. On the other side of the world, the Chinese yen is pretty much the only other, money that is worth anything. So the goal is to use these two to fight the Chinese yen, because the Chinese yen is backing all of these digital currencies, Putin and these African nations, so that they can swap it to digital. Okay. And if that is done, it gives the United States, individuals here, right, a way to be able to partake in other countries' economies, hold our money there, and then the United States cannot tax our money. They cannot borrow and use our money or gain interest or anything on our money like they do here. Okay? We have to remember that the government makes money off of our money, and they make money off of us and what we have. If we don't have anything here, they have nothing to tax us on. That's the gist behind the digital currency. It's to put it on an international level so that the owners of the digital currency are the ones getting rich, not necessarily the government. Okay? Thereby giving control to a small amount of people who can then run the world because they have all of the currency of the world in their hands versus each individual country having control of their own currency. I need you all to pay attention to the fact that the Cash App founder died. It ain't. It's been scrubbed from the internet, guys, but I promise you, I read the life, and the United States was trying to buy Cash App. When I was looking at digital currency, the United States had come to this gentleman, the founder of Cash App, to purchase Cash App, and they were in negotiations, but I don't think he wanted to sell it. The reason that the United States would want Cash App is to have a hold of the digital currency world, okay? Because if everybody uses Cash App, it's a digital currency, we're all using it. If we don't have Cash App, then we'll have to use another digital currency. That digital currency very well may be Putin's currency, Chinese currency, or someone else's currency. So in order for the United States to stay in the game, while the American dollar falls, we have to get in the digital currency game. Cash App was already here. Square Cash was already here, which is the same company. Square, Block, Cash App, they're the same, pretty much. Mobile Coin, they're the same. We have to dominate in that fashion. If you pay attention, all the digital currencies are pretty much international except for Cash App. I think the goal of the United States government was to never let Cash App go international and to make sure that it didn't. I don't know what this Cash App founder, Mr. Bob Lee, had up his sleeve or what they knew that he was going to do. Because Bob Lee he was a force to be reckoned with. He used to work for Google. He came up with Android. Of course, he came up with Block. He came up with Square Cash. He came up with Mobile Coin. He came up with Cash App and many other tech, digital currencies and tech industry, prominent industry inventions, period. Okay, he was a techie. And it's my thought process and understanding that he was going to make it international. The United States had to stop that. I'm not saying that they killed him. That's not what I'm saying. Because there is a gentleman that has been arrested that they say killed the Cash App founder. Okay? They say that he was stabbed to death by this other gentleman that was in IT. That people, his name is like Nima, what is his name? Nima Momeni. He's from Iran. He's a big tech guy as well. He deals with tech, IT, and investment. He's a money man. He had been living here in the United States. He didn't have really any problems with anybody. He had been caught with a knife and drunk driving before. Those are the things that he had been accused of. And so it's weird to me that all of a sudden the Cash App finder died from a knife. You have to pay attention to that type of thing. Many attorneys say that they don't believe that there's any reason that he would have killed him. And somehow deep inside, I feel like he may not have done that. He could just be a ball guy that they're crucifying because you can kill two birds with one stone. Okay? So that's another thing we need to watch is this trial with Nima Momeni with the Cash App founder's death. I want y'all to look that stuff up. Don't take what I say as scholarship. Go look it up for yourself and kind of see the fact that Cash App was going to be international and now it is not international. It is being run by a gentleman named Oliveira, and we have not heard anything from him. He has been low-key and Cash App has been low-key. And Cash App states that it has no thoughts to go international all of a sudden.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody know anything about that?
Yes, sir. I mentioned that last night in the midst of us speaking about the Bitcoin, right? And what Cash App is capable of doing, right? And
Right.
Cash App was really growing, it was thriving, it was, really taking off. And then all of a sudden, you know, the gentleman that, run Cash App, he gets killed out of the blue, and the way the story came out just did not make any sense to me at all. And she shedded a little bit more light on it for me.
Right. Yeah, it didn't make sense because of why would he be in a place where he was at with the influence and the prestige he had? Why would he be in an area where they say he was at? Didn't make no
Right.
sense. Yeah, it was crazy. So, but now it's all starting to make sense now. Yeah, and it's tied to bricks also.
Yes, sir.
You got something?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna open it up, or might want to do some more research on that. But we open it up for questions and comments, Q&A. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Any questions? Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, we're gonna go into the to our discussion, which is dealing with Abraham's wife, Keturah. So what I'm gonna do first off, just to jump this off, this discussion, I'm gonna go to Genesis 25, and I'm gonna read 25, 1 through 6. Genesis 25, 1 through 6 is it says, okay, it says, and when Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bore him, okay, you can say these names like Zimran, Joxan, Median, and Isabak, and Shul, and Jokshan begot Sheba, Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Asherim and Netham and Lebanon, and the sons of Midian, Ephah, Aphor, Hannah, Ebadiah, Eldad, and all these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac, but unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts, and he sent them away from Isaac his son while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. So that's where these people are to this day over there, Middle East, to this day. So that was Abraham had passed away. I mean, Sarah passed away, and he took another wife, and which was Keturah. Anybody familiar with Keturah?
Yes, sir. A little bit. I had read up on her before out of the Midrash. I may be saying that name wrong, but
Right.
I had read up on her a little bit before, and they were saying that um, she was actually his third wife, but it never mentioned really who the second wife was because Hagar died before Sarah, right?
Right. Yeah, we're gonna get into
Right.
that.
Okay.
I got a copy of it right here, the mid drop.
Okay. Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. So anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna play this right here. So
Have you ever wondered about the whereabouts of the descendants stemming from Abraham? I'm referring to the children Abraham had with his second wife, as mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 25. What became of the descendants of Abraham and Keturah? While Isaac, the child of promise, and Ishmael are often discussed, it's intriguing to ponder the fate of the 6 children Abraham had with Keturah. In this video,
In response to numerous requests from our channel subscribers, we will together delve into the question: Abraham and Keturah, where are their descendants now? The sacred scriptures recount that shortly after the loss of his wife Sarah, Abraham decided to marry again. According to the information found in the Book of Chronicles, his second wife initially began as a concubine, and later Abraham formalized the marriage, thus having 6 children with her. This woman's name was Keturah. I'm planning to create a more detailed video about this figure from the Old Testament, an intriguing female character. If you're interested in a comprehensive video about Keturah, please leave your comment. Keturah is often confused with another figure from the Old Testament, Hagar, who was an Egyptian woman. However, it's important to note that Keturah is not described as an Egyptian woman. She is not linked to the land of Egypt. Richard Elliott Friedman, a respected biblical scholar, rejects the idea that Keturah is the same person as Hagar. He argues that this identification stems from an ancient rabbinic notion without basis in the Hebrew text. Furthermore, Friedman notes that this idea was rejected by renowned commentators of antiquity, such as Ibn Ezra, Ramban, and Rasbam. The Book of Jubilees, a notably intriguing work that would certainly deserve a documentary or a special video, also supports the conclusion that Keturah and Hagar were distinct individuals. They were not the same person. It's important to remember that the Book of Jubilees is of great curiosity, dating back to approximately 700 BC, a remarkable antiquity. In this book, it's affirmed that Keturah and Hagar were not identical. In fact, the book even states that Abraham waited until after Hagar's death to marry again. I now invite you to join me in reading chapter 25 of the book of Genesis. Abraham married another woman, named Keturah. She bore him the following children: Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan fathered Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Ashurim, Letushim, and Lumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham gave everything he had to Isaac. But to the sons of his concubines, Abraham gave gifts, and while he was still alive, he sent them away from Isaac, to the land of the east. Abraham lived for 175 years. He died in a good old age, in a ripe old age, and was gathered to his ancestors. As we examine the text, it becomes evident that Abraham had an additional 6 children after Isaac, named Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. These 6 children are the result of Abraham's union with Keturah. However, a question arises: what became of the descendants stemming from the union between Abraham and Keturah? Where exactly are these descendants, and in which countries are they currently located? It can be stated that one of the most notable tribes from the descendants of Abraham and Keturah was undoubtedly the Midianites. The Midianites were an ancient people who primarily inhabited the northwestern regions of the Arabian Peninsula, including parts of what is now Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and the Sinai. They are mentioned in various ancient sources, including the Bible, Assyrian texts, and Egyptian records. Often, the Midianites are closely associated with other groups descended from Abraham. Hence, in certain parts of the scriptures, the terms Midianites, Mennonites, and Ishmaelites are used interchangeably. See Genesis 37 verses 28 to 36, Judges 8 verse 24. It's quite likely that these 3 groups intermingled through marriages, indicating that the descendants of Abraham's children and concubines united through matrimony. Alongside other sister tribes, the Midianites were also descendants of Keturah, and these tribes primarily inhabited the region of Saudi Arabia. Specifically, the descendants of Abraham and Keturah are present today in Saudi Arabia and also Bahrain. The latter country hosts a considerable number of descendants of Abraham and Keturah. The tribes stemming from the 6 children of Abraham and Keturah are dispersed across various parts of Saudi Arabia, as well as Bahrain. Notably, it appears that one tribe from Keturah's lineage occupied an area of Saudi Arabia near the borders with Jordan, including the ancient region of Edom. This observation is corroborated by the fact that the book of Job mentions one of Job's friends as a Shuhite. The reference to the
Are you a Christian who's been speaking?
Zophar the Naamathite. Zophar is among the friends who came to comfort Job during his difficult times, and the Shuhites are descendants of Shua, one of Abraham's children with Keturah. The current population of Saudi Arabia is largely composed of direct descendants of Abraham and Keturah. The 6 tribes descending from Keturah hold a significant presence in Saudi Arabia, forming the population's foundation. The Saudi Arabian inhabitants, including the renowned Midianites, are all connected to Abraham's lineage. Besides these 6 Arab tribes constituting Saudi Arabia's population, the influence of the Ishmaelites is also noteworthy due to interlinked marriages. In ancient times, as well as in the present day, Arabs continue to come together through marriage, promoting cultural amalgamation. Beyond Abraham's descendants, it's noteworthy that Saudi Arabia houses a Kushite presence. Certain descendants of Kush, a group historically established in Ethiopia, Somalia, and other African nations, have also found a home in the region encompassing Yemen and Oman. This is partly due to Yemen's ancient region having been a kingdom known as Sheba, comprising both Ethiopians from Ethiopia and Semitic Sabaeans. The kingdom of Sheba, also known as Saba, was an ancient realm existing in the region now encompassing Yemen and parts of Ethiopia in northeastern Africa. The history and wealth of the kingdom of Sheba are often linked to biblical legends and stories, including the renowned visit of the Queen of Sheba to King Solomon, as described in the Old Testament. Some members of this population migrated to the Saudi Arabian region, enhancing the ethnic and historical diversity of this territory. An intriguing observation deserving attention is the story of the wife of a prominent character from the Old Testament, Jethro. Exploring Jethro's origins and the curiosities of his life would be an exceedingly valuable topic for a special video. Jethro's story is closely tied to Moses' narrative and the liberation of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. Jethro was a priest of Midian and a tribal leader. He had several daughters, one of whom Moses met when he fled Egypt after killing an Egyptian who was mistreating an Israelite. Moses assisted Jethro's daughters in tending to their flock, and in gratitude, Jethro invited Moses to his home and offered him shelter. Over time, Jethro developed respect and appreciation for Moses, recognizing him as a man of God destined to lead the Israelites in their journey of liberation. If you'd like a video solely about him, please let me know in the comments.
Okay. Any comments on that? Yeah, so if you look at that, go ahead.
I was going to say, I have a question on that timeline when he said about Hagar, right? So
Okay.
he said that Abraham married Keturah after Hagar died. So Sarah was still alive during this time that he had the children with Keturah? Because okay, that's what I thought, because from in Genesis 25 it says that after Sarah's death, right? And then in Jubilees chapter 19 it said Hagar died before Sarah, but the way he was saying it was that he married Keturah after Hagar died.
Right. Yeah, notice where he said he came from. Rabbinic Judaism.
Yeah. Yes.
One of those books.
Okay.
So that's the dead cat right there.
Right.
Right. So
Okay.
right. So the light I
Right.
wanted to shine on it was notice that what I talked about last night, how the prophecy in Genesis 15. Listening to this and understanding this right here, you can see that that prophecy had nothing to do with today, all that stuff that happened. But Moses, after Genesis 15, the Israelites went into captivity just like the angel told Moses. Then Moses came out. He ended up in Horeb. I read that last night. He went to the same place where Abraham was at on Mount Horeb, where the Lord host was at. That's where Abraham was at when he had got the vision and the dream and the prophecy. He was on Mount Horeb. Moses ended up on that same mountain, but and around that mountain were these Midianites, children from Abraham, children from Keturah, uh, uh, Keturah. That's where Moses got his wife from. Zephora was from. She was out of the lineage of the Midianites, one of the sons of Abraham by Keturah. But also, I want to shine light on something else to show you how this stuff is all. It's why you have to go all the way in because it's all interconnected and linked. So if you go to Deacon 37, which is what we waiting on to happen. So you go to Deacon 38, and you'll see D-Dan, right? That's the same people. It says, let me get it. Yeah, it says verse 5, verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, notice all these countries tied to what's going on in Niger and what's going on with BRICS. Persia. Matter of fact, Ethiopia just joined BRICS. Say Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them, all of them with shields and helmets, Gomer, and all his band, the house of Tomagog, and the North Quarters, and all the band, and many of people with them. Okay, and you keep reading, you're going to see that over here in verse 12. Verse 10 says, thus saith the Lord God, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall the thing come into thy mind that thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. That's us. We've been delivered from here, America. He done brought us over there. And he done brought us, he done gathered us. Then 13, Sheba, Dedan, that's from Keturah. Sheba and Dedan, and the merchants of Tarsus, with all their young lions, therefore shall say unto thee, or thou come to take a spoil, as thou gathered thy company to take a spoil, to carry away silver and gold, and to take cattle and goods, to take a great spoil. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto God, thus saith the Lord God, in that day when my people of Israel dwelleth, see that my people Israel dwelleth safely, shall thou not know it? And thou shalt come up from the place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. So I'll see how all this playing together. And so you say, well, what are you talking about? Go back to the understanding of Genesis chapter 6. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, that it's a 6-day man. He made a man and a woman on the 6th day. Then he rested. Then he made Adam. So when Israel was in captivity in Babylon and Egypt, and then the Lord of hosts went and delivered them. When he delivered them, a mixed multitude came out with him. And most people don't understand who that mixed multitude is. That's the 6-day people. They were subject to Adam's descendants until the fallen angels came down. When the fallen angels came down That's where they went there. They made a pact on Mount Hermon, but they went to Egypt. And they started taking wives and giants. And them giants suppressed the Egyptian people. The real name for Egyptian is Mezarine. They're giants. And so they brought that knowledge and understanding to those people, and they subjugated them. And then when the Lord of hosts came and delivered the Israelites that was out of Adam's descendant, that mixed multitude went with them. We see the same thing right here. These people mingled, they mingled together. If you go to back to 25, Genesis 25, you'll see it says, Genesis 25, I read this, all these sons of Keturah, right? But I got to verse 5. Abraham, so it says Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. So that's when you understand how it goes. He gave everything to Isaac. But verse 6 says, but unto the sons of the concubines with Abraham, had Abraham gave gifts and sent them on their way. But Isaac his son, while he yet lived, they went eastward. So it's a mingled people. That's what's over. That's what you're dealing with. They all mingle together, intermarried and mingle together. Them 6 boys. So you got a mixed multitude right there, just like you had a mixed multitude in Egypt. So when we get delivered over here, we see right here in Ezekiel, let's look at it. 38. Okay. Ezekiel 38 says, verse 13, 38 and 13, Sheba and Dedan. So when these Gog and Magog them come up to try to put us back in captivity, you know, he says the evil thought came, they want to come and put us back in captivity. They can't stand to see us separated and at peace. So they come up with this idea to attack us again. But 13 says Sheba and Dedan. They from Keturah. Yeah. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarsus with all their young lions thereof shall say unto thee, or thou come to take a spoil, as thou gather thy company and take a prey to carry away silver and gold. So they stand up for us. Yeah. So go back and read it. Let it ferment. But yeah, so that's where that come in. That's why it does you good to understand you know, these lineages. Okay. So any comments? Okay, so with that being said, I was going to go back to this Midrash, go into that a little bit, folks, and then we'll open up for see if I have a comment question. So I'm gonna start reading. It says, this is about Keturah out of the Midrash and the Agadah. These are rabbinical literature from the rabbi. But it says Keturah was one of Abraham's wives, and the rabbis describe her as a woman of virtue, for which she was worthy of being joined to Abraham. Though the Torah describes them separately, the rabbis often identify Keturah with Hagar, which is saying that what happened was when Abraham gave when Sarah sanctioned the idea of Hagar lying with Abraham, she sanctioned it, and he did it, and she got pregnant. She had Ishmael, but that was Abraham's firstborn son. And you notice when the Most High was talking to Abraham, let me read it. When he's talking to Abraham in Genesis chapter 15, right? Before he gave him the prophecy, it says, pick it up in 15 verse 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, fear thou not, Abraham, I am thy shield and thy exceedingly great reward. And Abraham said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless. She don't have no children at this point. And the steward of my household is Eleazar of Damascus. And Abraham said, behold, to me thou hast given me no seed, and lo, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, this shall not be thy heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thy heir. And he brought him forth abroad and showed him. So this was prompted Hagar, Sarah to say for him to go into Hagar. So anyway, contrary to how it came about, that's in Abraham's mind, that's his firstborn son. So Abraham loved his son, and then he loved Hagar. But the Most High told him when Ishmael started talking against Isaac, the Lord of hosts told him to hearken unto a voice and send him away. So what they're saying right here is that they sent her away, right? But after Keturah died, after Sarah died, Abraham went and got her back. And so that's why they're saying that Keturah and Hagar are the same person. So she was a concubine at the time when Sarah was alive. Then when Sarah died, he went and got her and made her a wife. So that's the understanding behind it from these so-called rabbis. When it says who they state came back, today it says, though the Torah describes them separately, the rabbis often identify the Torah with Hagar, who they state came back to remarry Abraham after Sarah's death. Her children are depicted both as the fulfillment of both God's promises to Abraham, like I just read Genesis 15, Abraham to be blessed by the nations and as a menace to Israel, like their brother Ishmael. So we're going to get into this right here. It says 6 things that I want to deal with. The first one is identifying Keturah, then the marriage, and the meaning of the name Keturah, the children of Keturah as a realization of God's blessing to Abraham, the offspring of Keturah as a constant threat to Israel, then the descendants of Keturah in the future. And we just read what some of them going to do, when we get exit, we leave here. It says Keturah was Abraham's wife, or Keturah was one of Abraham's wives. The rabbis describe her as a woman of virtue, and for that she was worthy of being joined to the righteous, to that righteous one, Abraham. The Torah mentions this marriage in Genesis 25:1. After the death of Sarah and the subsequent to the wedding of Isaac and Rebekah, the rabbis present this as a lesson in proper conduct. If a man's wife dies and he has grown children, he should first see that they are married before himself taking a new wife. Okay, this implies that the rabbis understood that Sarah died before Abraham was married. Okay, and so the identification of Keturah, it says the Tannaim disagree regarding Keturah's identity. According to one view, Abraham remarried after the death of Sarah and had a total of 3 wives: Sarah, Hagar, and Keturah. Another tradition identifies Keturah with Hagar, and thus Abraham married only twice. Each of these views find scriptural support for his position. The 3-wife opinion relies on Genesis 25:1. Abraham took another wife, implying a 3rd wife in addition to the first 2. This school of thought is further bolstered by the fact that his wife also had a different name, Keturah. In addition, the plural wording of Genesis 25:6 to Abraham's sons by concubines conveys that Abraham had at least 2 wives in addition to Sarah. Okay? So those who identify Keturah with Hagar have rejoined to each other of these proofs. First, the wording another in 25:1 teaches that these marriages were in fulfillment of a divine command. The proponents of this view learned this from from Isaiah 8 and 5. Again, the Lord spoke unto me, where the word appears in the context of a divine revelation, and second, the wise of new name of Keturah does not necessarily teach that this was a different woman. Rather, it was a name given to Hagar in recognition of her good qualities. The third word, okay, concubine, Genesis 25 and 6, is spelled deficiently without the letter Yud. The intent of the Torah was thus only to single out a concubine. Hagar was a concubine. And the view that was widely accepted by the rabbis is the one which identifies Keturah with Hagar and appears in various places in the Midrash. Okay, now we get to the marriage. In the Midrashic depiction, after Abraham divorces Hagar and sends her into the wilderness, she sits by a well and cries to God, "See my shame." Hagar, the man from justice was accepted by God, who revealed himself to Abraham after Sarah's death and commanded him to take back his divorcee, Hagar, Keturah. A different story has Isaac initiating his father's marriage. When Isaac married Rebekah, he said to himself, "I have taken a wife, while my father is without a spouse." What did he do? He went and brought him Keturah. This tradition is based on Genesis 24 and 62. Isaac had just come back from the vicinity of Bahara, and he brought back with him Hagar, who had been at Bahara, I can't say that word, Bahara, and had also given this place its name as is related to Genesis 16, verse 14. Okay, so the meaning of the name Keturah. The name Keturah lends itself to a number of rabbinic interpretations. She was perfumed with commandments and good deeds. She was, through her good deeds, more savory than all manner of spices. Her needs were as fine as incense. And additional explanations give this word the meaning of binding or sealing. When a person secures his valuables with a seal, they are still shut when he opens his treasury. Thus, even thou Abraham sent Hagar forth, and she wandered in the wilderness. And when he brought her back, she remained chaste, and no other man had known her, for which she was known as Keturah. So what they're saying is, just like he changed Sarah's name, he changed Hagar's name. Okay. Anyway, keep going. This is we already read this. It's the children of Keturah as a realization of God's blessing to Abraham. Genesis 26, the list of 6 children that Keturah bore to Abraham, as we read those. And whatsoever he does or prospers, these offspring express the fulfillment of the blessing given by God to Abraham in Genesis 12 and 3. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed themselves by you. For 30 families came from Abraham, and 12 chieftains from Ishmael, the 16 descendants of Keturah, and 2 nations are in your womb. Okay, then the rabbis further learn from Abraham that even if a man has children while he is young, he shall still take another wife in his old age and begot further offspring. All of Keturah's sons were the heads of nations. Okay, so they're saying that through Keturah, the prophecy was fulfilled that Abraham was going to be a father of many nations. Okay, so the offspring of Keturah as constant threat to Israel, in opposition to the views that the offspring of Keturah were the realization of the Lord's promise to Abraham. Another approach presents them as perpetually menacing Israel. The rabbis championing this position emphasizes that these offspring do not follow the spiritual way of Abraham. Moreover, since they already received their inheritance from him, they are not entitled to make any further demand. Okay. children of Keturah. Let me go back. The children of Keturah or Ishmael did not receive Abraham's blessing. The Midrash stresses that this was an intentional decision of Abraham's part. He said to himself, if I bless Isaac now, I will also have to bless the children of Ishmael and Keturah. But if I do not bless him, how will he be able to be? How will I be able to bless Isaac? Surely what he wants in his world will happen. And so it happened that after Abraham's death, God revealed himself to Isaac and blessed him as his father had intended to do. Okay? Genesis 25:6 relates that Abraham sent the sons of Keturah away from Isaac eastward to the land of the east. He told them, go as far as eastward as you can, so you will not be burnt by the burning of coals of Isaac. In another tradition, Abraham sent the sons of Keturah away with a writ of a divorce, as a wife is sent away from her husband. This notion is based on 25:6. But Abraham's sons, by the concubines, Abraham gave gifts while he was still living, and he sent them away from his son Isaac. And this expulsion is both in this world and in the world to come. The rabbis asked, what gifts did Abraham nevertheless give the sons of Keturah? And they replied, he gave them the names of impurity. This apparently means that he taught them the secrets of sorcery. Oh, that's crazy. Secrets of sorcery and characteristics of non-Jews, which are, okay, let me get over down here to this bottom part. Okay. So it says the descendants of Keturah in the future. A late Midrash relates that Abraham built for Keturah's offspring a city surrounded by high iron walls and brought them inside. He raised the wall so high that the sunlight would not never enter. And he gave them precious stones and large pearls, which Israel would use in the days to come. In addition to the days to come, Abraham will be ashamed of Ishmael and the offspring of Keturah as portrayed in Isaiah 24:43. Then the moon shall be ashamed. Okay. In the comments. So if you want to check that out, what I was reading, it's just go search block in Google, and I typed in Keturah, and that's what came up. Keturah, the Midrash, and the Agadah, Aggadah. Okay. Anybody got any comments or questions?
I have a comment. So when we talked about the first part, we were reading in the first son. So when Abraham,
Ishmael.
yes, sir, the first son is Ishmael. So
Okay.
in that, was there a promise, just like you read over on when we talked about the 30 families from Abraham? Was there a prophecy with this that Abraham went back to Keturah, and changed the name? She had gone out and he had sent her out into the wild, and she came back scathed, and no one knew her, and her name became Keturah. That would go back to the first son that he had was Isaac. Um, even though the prophecy was that the first son would get all of the inheritance. So he didn't give it to Keturah's the other children that he had with her, to look like the first one he had with her would have been the first child. After the when she was Hagar. Remember when she was Hagar? Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So if you go to which I'm always going there, go to Genesis 18. What a lot of people don't know about Genesis 18, that was his whole purpose. That's the whole purpose of that he came in Genesis 18 was about Isaac.
Right. Okay.
So it says, Notice he says in verse 13, 18 and 13, and the Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I not surely bear a child which am old? Is there anything too hard for the Lord? At that time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life. So 9 months. So he just told her it's a baby in his stomach now. So he says, I'll be back in 9 months. Then Sarah denied, saying, I had laughed, but she was afraid. And she said, nah, but thou didst laugh. So then you go to chapter 22. He said he's going to come back, right? Go to chapter 21. Yeah. He comes back in that chapter 21. And the Lord visited Sarah. He came back. He visited Sarah as he had said. And the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the set time, which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bore to him Isaac. So this the boy, Sarah chose Ishmael. Sarah the one told Abraham to go into Hagar. So she chose Ishmael. The Lord of hosts chose Isaac.
Okay, yes.
So that's why Abraham doing what he's doing, because the Lord chose Isaac. And so you say, what are you talking about? You go to Saul and David. If you go back and read it, the people chose Saul. They said they wanted a king, so he gave them Saul. But then he chose David.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So that's where the difference coming in at.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got anything else before we any other comments or questions? Okay, I'm gonna play this. Somebody got something?
Yes, sir. I have one more. So under the 30 families of Abram, and then you read like the rabbi and then the other book. So it was like two differences or saying where they thought this came from. One of them stated that the children didn't really portray in the sense the lineage of Abraham to be the nations of Abraham, but the prophecy was that Abraham would be a father of many nations. So would it be true to say, or is which one of them saying it correctly, that these descendants are the prophecy of the 12 tribes of Abraham, being the descendants?
Well, the prophecy is fulfilled through all three women, through Keturah, Hagar, and Israel. It's the prophecy was fulfilled. Each one of those boys that Isaac had, he had 12 sons. Each one of those tribes is a nation. And then remember, he told Hagar when the angel went to get Hagar, he told her, "You're gonna be blessed too. The boy Ishmael gonna be blessed." Ishmael had 12 sons, so that's 12 more nations.
Yes, sir.
And then Keturah had all those sons, so all those nations Abraham was the father of them. So that's all that Keturah did was cemented the prophecy with the boys that she had.
Yes, sir.
So he fathered all of them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll play this little poem right here, and then we'll close out.
I'd be a fool to think there's something more astonishing than the way you wear your mahogany as if it's your birthright. I've seen it with my own vision. You're the only thing that's caught my eye, but still worthy of the throne, because everything you do is a clear indication that God spent time on your creation. Black woman. When I was a man boy, I used to enjoy playing make-believe. I wasn't mature enough to understand your gospel, so I didn't believe it. I just picked at your scriptures and filled in the gaps with my own conclusions without reading your whole story. But you are the most beautiful novel ever written. Black woman. You've opened me up in ways that can only be explained through divine intervention. When life felt claustrophobic, you were the opening on fire escapes, climbing through my exposed wounds that were too sensitive to touch. Black women were privy to my secrets. I only expressed the rooftops where endless screams were heard and tears are forgotten. They carried a lantern through my darkest corners and found the remains of my self-love. A black woman made my potential her deity. She's the only one that truly had faith in what she was yet to see. Black women are known for their courage, but carry most of their weight on their tongue, strong enough to lift a man's spirit. Oh, I love my black woman. Black woman, you are deserving of so much more. I speak on behalf of the men that have failed to protect you, always having a justification for why your skin doesn't deserve to be abuse-free, and would rather you pay for their sins because they're too broke to take accountability for their actions. I will humbly become your living sacrifice. I'm indebted to you for all the senseless men that see you as no more than a commodity and turn a blind eye to your trauma, leaving you with the permanent sense of arrogance that smells like male privilege. I'm indebted to you for all the men that have remained silent in the face of your mistreatment and rejection when you needed us to be the reverb that echoes your sentiments. Black woman, your womb carries our baby, so I put respect on your name. And I'm eager to love you because for centuries I was forbidden to out of fear of losing you. Black woman, I want to be your organ donor. I promise to give my heart to the one that needs it most. You, my black woman, not only at first but at last will be together because you mean the world to me. No other woman on the planet has endured the plight you've experienced, so I apologize in advance for the men that misinterpreted your strength as some sort of posturing that says you're better than them. Through all their insecurities and projections, they're yet to see that the motion picture of your life has always been a frontline war. And when one man is down, you gotta pick up your bootstraps and keep on surviving. Our black women are surviving. How long will you have to carry the load down lonely roads before we step up? Black woman, you are enough. There is nothing missing from your recipe. You are the brown in my sugar, the flavored shot of caramel in my coffee, the grinds of cinnamon in my heart. Our love can't be measured, but we add up. We are God's match before human mutual interest and cosmic compatibility. I've cheated on self-hate, and I have a love affair with your melanin. Your beauty is never in question. I'm ready to give your feminine energy a comfortable space for your temporary moments of weakness to find refuge. I'm committed to removing the barriers built by men laid with bricks cemented with infidelity, lust, and lies. I want you to hold on to your attitude, but allow me to bag the angry chip on your shoulder created by false promises of headship that couldn't anchor your stability. Black woman, I am your black man.
Okay. So with that being said, I was gonna say shalom to everybody. I'll see everybody tomorrow on Clubhouse for Clubhouse at 8 o'clock for our room. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.